everybody. Let's talk movies again.
Oh, yeah.
I say again, not only because this is the however many episodes we've done, but we are doing our first back-to-back review. We watched Gladiator 1 yesterday. We reviewed it. It was awesome. It was a little jank also. If you go back and watch, half of the video is like in 16 pixel quality while the other half is like in 4K HD. It's pretty funny. But now, or I should say directly afterwards, we went and watched Gladiator 2. Like literally back to back. Like we just left Gavin's house, went to the theater, watched Gladiator 2. It was a little bit late to review it, so we went to Waffle House instead. But now it is the next morning. We are geared up and ready to review Gladiator 2. I said from the outset with John, I was really skeptical with this movie because, generally, I'm skeptical of sequels to big IP that seem to be motivated just by a money grab, right? Mm-hmm. Because when there's not a lot there built in for the sequel, it can be difficult to attach it on. And usually I'm right? Top Gun 2 is a big exception. Yeah. Other than that, most of them are terrible. So you might be expecting me to just like run a bulldozer through this movie, to decry it as terrible in the same way that I decried Alexander. But here's the thing, guys. The movie's actually quite good. It's actually quite good.
We have to really just make it clear how much of a skeptic you were. Like you said you were not going to go see it. You were not going to waste your money on this movie. I convinced him to go so we can review it.
I didn't want to support this kind of thing
because he heard rap music in the trailer.
So let me give you my reasons for why I was really skeptical about this movie. I think I had good reasons. Yeah. Number one was the fact that Napoleon existed. So Ridley Scott has shaken my faith in his work because Napoleon is a turd.
We will review that one day.
It's a turd. It's everyone agrees it's a very bad movie. And so coming off of that, I was like, man, feeling skeptical about Ridley Scott. And then they dropped the first trailer for this movie, which is just it's a really bad trailer. And the two primary reasons that it's a bad trailer, well, the marketing got better. Yeah. Like we just watched, this is a freeze frame from the final trailer. This trailer's fine.
Yeah, this trailer's fine.
But the first trailer was bad because one, it was way too long. Yeah. And what happened is it went through like a ton of the plot points, and I felt like I had watched the whole movie already. Yeah. Now, I found out later that they actually did not tip their hand entirely. They had other stuff that they were saving. Yeah. But it seemed that way. And then there was the rap song, and I was like, what is this? What is this? Rap song in Gladiator 2? Because I did not want them to desecrate the memory of the first movie.
Oh, yeah, because it's a classic.
So my skepticism was really high. I was not going to waste my time or money, but John was like, come on, man. You got to review it with me.
If you watch our review of the first movie, you know that we love the first movie.
The first movie is just one of the greatest pieces of historical film ever put to screen. If not the greatest. It arguably could be the greatest. Yeah.
In terms of its impact.
It's in that conversation. For sure. So what I'll say, just as at the outset, is that this movie is not terrible. However, it is not as good as the first one. No. And our guest star yesterday, Steve, not Steven, right?
Steve.
Claimed that the second one was better.
Yeah. We didn't go into... He kind of gave a little bit of a reason why.
Which is objectively wrong. I think we can say.
We can talk about that.
We can talk about that, right? So, what else? I've got lots of thoughts on this movie. It's not perfect, but you know what? It's really good. And so we're going to talk about all the aspects. We're going to talk about what they got right. We're going to talk about what they got wrong. And we're going to have a really fun time doing it. So stick around. Come along with us for the ride. Get all the analysis and a podcast that is barely shorter than the actual movie. Only kidding a little bit. John? Take us off. Give us some specs. Set up the scene for us.
So the movie's about and then some people might be, you're spoiling it. The movie's about Lucius, the son of Lucilla in the first movie. The marketing of the movie gave it away. I don't know. I don't really know why they try to make it a secret in the movie, like it's supposed to be a reveal. It's not. You know, it's Lucius from the beginning. If you've seen the first movie and watched any of the trailers, it's about Lucius, and it's about how his journey to also becoming a gladiator, like his like Maximus in the first movie. And he has to, but Lucius's journey is a little bit different from Maximus's in the sense that he has a different path to becoming a gladiator. And once he gets into the arena, he has a similar goal of Maximus of restoring the Roman Empire, which has since the first movie.
He's restoring the Republic.
Yeah, he wants to. Well, yeah, and he wants to because since the into the first movie, the opening text in this movie makes clear, the Empire, Rome, has fallen back into decay with these two twin emperors that are really bad in control. And so he's his goal by the end of the movie is eventually to restore. He has to find kind of the strength and honor to restore Rome to its former glory. And so that's kind of what the movie is about. And there's a lot of interweaving plot threads that happen, a lot of different characters that have you don't really know where their character is going to lead. And so yeah, that's kind of the basis of the movie. So we can go through a few...
if you think about it, the plot really is like Julius Caesar without Julius Caesar. It's just think about these Republican uprisings.
Yeah, a big thing about Lucius's character that's similar to Maximus in this movie is that he does have a lot of rage, like he wants revenge. That's a big theme of the movie that we can talk about later. But yeah, so we can get into some of the specs. As he mentioned, it was directed by Ridley Scott, so he returns for the sequel, which I think is good. I mean, I'm glad it's not just some other director. And fun fact, Christopher Nolan, who was a massive fan of Ridley Scott, he was like his idol growing up, I guess, considers this the best movie, or at least one of the best movies of 2024. That's pretty high praise from the legend himself. And so yeah, Ridley Scott returns to the director's chair. Nate will get a kick out of this. The screenplay is by a guy named David Scarpa. And this guy, David Scarpa, is the same guy who wrote Napoleon. So yeah, very different. I think he definitely improves with this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what's with Ridley because they've done 3 movies now together over the past 6 or 7 years.
Well, every now and then you just lay an egg.
Yeah, I know. But I guess Ridley, they've become pretty good friends, obviously, and they like collaborating. So we'll probably have a few. I assume he'll probably write the 3rd movie. Which yes, there is going to be a 3rd movie according to Ridley Scott. The story for the movie was by Scarpa and a guy named Peter Craig. It was based on characters created by David Franzoni. He was one of the screenwriters on the first movie. It was produced by Ridley Scott, Michael Pruss, Douglas Wick, Lucy Fisher, and David Franzoni. It stars Paul Mescal as Lucius, aka Hanno, aka Lucius. His name is Hanno at the beginning. That's like his African name. And then once he's revealed to be Lucius, obviously he goes, that's kind of what you know him as for the rest of the movie. And then Pedro Pascal plays Marcus Acacius, the Roman general who invades Numidia at the beginning of the movie, and this is the guy and he kills the wife of Hanno, or I'm just gonna say Lucius. He kills the wife of Lucius at the beginning of the movie in the battle.
Not
personally, but his archers kill her, and so obviously this is a big thing in the movie. I mean, Lucius wants revenge against him. Joseph Quinn plays Emperor Geta, one of the 2 twin emperors, while Fred Heckinger plays Caracalla. Geta's kind of like the
taller one?
This kind of, I guess, a little bit smarter than Caracalla is basically insane. They make that pretty clear. But they have an interesting relationship at the movie. Leo Raz plays the kind of the gladiator trainer. That's under Denzel Washington's character. Mm-hmm. And then Derek Jacobi returns to reprise his role as Senator Gracchus. But unfortunately, they do him just completely dirty in this movie. I mean, they waste him. Dirty. Well, that'll be a big negative of mine. Denzel Washington, which most people are going to see this movie for, let's be honest, everybody loves Denzel. He plays Macrinus, who is an interesting character who you do not see. He's kind of a mystery man. You don't know what he's going to do until he actually does it at the end. And then Connie Nielsen obviously returns as well to play Lucilla. who's the sister of Commodus and the mother of Lucius. Although Lucius has been sent away. She sent him away, and we can talk about that a little bit later, because that's a big plot point of the movie. That kind of fuels some of his rage as well. And the cinematography was by John Matheson, who also did the cinematography for the first movie. It was edited by Claire Simpson and Sam Restivo. Music was by Harry Gregson Williams. Nate's a big fan of
I like Harry Gregson Williams.
Yeah.
He's a very competent musical.
Yeah, he's like he was a student of Hans Zimmer.
I mean, obviously he's not Hans Zimmer level, but his score for Kingdom of Heaven is very good.
Yeah.
His score for this movie is good.
Yeah.
And his score for Narnia is very good.
Yeah. And the production companies were Scott Free Productions, that's Ridley's company, and then Lucy Fisher Douglas Wick Productions. It's distributed by Paramount Pictures. It was released, obviously, just a couple months ago on October 30th, 2024. It premiered in Sydney, Australia, and then it went wide in the United Kingdom on the 15th of November and in the U.S. on the 22nd. It has a runtime of 148 minutes. That's 2 hours and 28 minutes. It's a co-production between the UK and the US. Obviously, Ridley Scott's British. And then it had a budget of $310 million. And it says here the net cost was about $210 million. So I don't know exactly what that means. But I don't know. But
net cost?
I've
never heard of that.
I don't know. But it's brought in a lot of money, $435.2 million.
Oh, I think... Maybe
I know net means like obviously you would
subtract, right, but maybe they mean that like the profits so far have brought the cost down to $210.
That might, that's probably what that means. Because it's brought in $435.2 million. So it's brought in a lot of money because people love the first movie and they probably just interested to see what the second one's about. That was me. But so yeah, those are some specs on the movie. So without further ado, we can get into the positives, and Nate, you go first.
Well, yeah, so let's talk about, I think a good way to structure this would be in comparison to the first one. Because as you mentioned, this movie just does not exist in a vacuum on its own. It exists in the light of the first movie. So I'm going to talk about, instead of strictly positives and negatives, which generally it is, but I'm going to structure it a little bit differently and talk about what this movie does better than the first movie and what this movie does worse than the first movie.
Okay.
And something that this movie does better than the first movie is because, first of all, you got a technological advantage. Ridley Scott has more experience, and the big thing is that they've got more money. They've got 3 times more money. And so the scale can just be widened out.
Oh, yeah.
And so the scale is just really huge. And
Denzel said it's like the biggest movie he's ever worked on. So
yeah, I mean, the scale of the set pieces is huge. The scale of the battles so huge, and they're able to just pull off things that they just would not be able to pull off in the first movie. But, also because their villain stays around one of their main. I was comparing Denzel to the trainer in the first one, but he wasn't really a villain. Point is that one of their main actors in the first one died, and they had to figure out how to manage that.
Yeah, we talked about that in the review of the first one.
Right. But Denzel stayed around, and so they could do whatever they wanted. So that helps them. So the scale of the movie could be widened out.
Although I will say, I don't think Oliver Proxton was ever going to be the villain at the end or anything like that. But he was going to have a further. He was not going to die.
He was not the villain. He was not the villain.
He was never going to. I wasn't trying to make that point, but he was going to have a further role.
Yes.
Beyond him dying in the barracks.
Right. So. In the improvement, you've got improvement in the production value, and one of the places that this comes out the best is in the city of Rome, because the city of Rome in the second movie just looks a lot better. And because I watched this back to back, I could really see that. In the first movie, Rome is weirdly color bleached.
Yeah,
I don't know what the deal with that is, but everything is white.
Yeah,
and it's one of the few things in the movie that they do using special effects, because they don't use many special effects in the first movie or computer generated effects, but they do Rome, and it doesn't look great. It looks strangely saturated. It doesn't have a lot of detail to it. The only landmark that is visible is the Colosseum.
Yeah, it's all centered around.
Or the Flavius, whatever.
Flavium Amphitheater.
Yeah, the Flavian Amphitheater.
Don't call it Colosseum wrong, yeah.
The Flavian Amphitheater. But Rome in this movie looked like the actual city of Rome with like the architecture that the Italians
Yeah,
used.
there's that really cool shot when it's like panning over the city when they first get to Ostia.
Yeah, so they're able to flesh that out a lot better. And another thing that's improved was the fight choreography. Was like just super hard hitting, dude.
Yeah,
the fight choreography was really awesome. And
brutal.
Yeah, brutal and just super fun.
And that's why I said the one in the first movie it wasn't good. Like it was still acceptable.
Oh my gosh.
Very good.
The first movie's fighting is good, and you could make the argument that it's better because of its simplicity.
Yeah.
Because this one tries to go really hard to make it really good. And one thing that's a little bit eyebrow raising about the fighting in the second movie is how they seem to know like jujitsu and MMA techniques.
Oh yeah.
Which is like, but
I love that scene where the big guy flips over. So when Lucius fights that big Mel Gibson looking brute guy, the brute just like gets him and just back slams him onto the table.
Oh yeah, that was one moment where it's like that was.
You were like, whoa.
That was literally a WWE.
I know that was
really
like,
come on, dude.
I mean, I guess in a fight to the death, you're gonna do whatever it takes, man. I mean,
it was literally a WWE movie.
Yeah.
So that was like, But generally, the fighting was very good. Something else that they did better than the first movie was the sound mixing.
Yeah, was
so much better because like in the first one, I don't know who dropped the ball on this, but like when they swing the swords, it's like
it always sounds like.
And then when they punch people, it's like. And the second movie, all of the sound effects sounded super realistic.
Yeah, and
you could like hear the steel singing in their swords when they swung them. It was like, it was really cool.
Yeah.
So those are a couple aspects which I think that they did better.
Okay, yeah.
In the second movie,
my biggest positive on this one is it kind of goes on with what you're saying. Like the scale of it, I think is part of this, but it's a really just entertaining movie to like watch because of the scale. Like, it's fun to watch. I mean, there's a battle at the beginning of the movie that is literally a Roman, like, fleet besieging a city. Like,
they get crushed.
and they're besieging Numidia in Africa. And they come in and they're like, it's a little bit like Kingdom of Heaven, except it's a water battle. They're coming in with the cat because both sides are firing catapults.
The set looked weirdly like Jerusalem.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but except they're coming in on water instead of on the land, and both sides are firing catapults. And it's just seeing that in IMAX when I first saw this movie. Man, it was sick, especially when they get to the wall and they're like trying to get the ramp down, and he's like waiting. He's like waiting, like ready to like fight him. Because I'm gonna be honest, Lucius is a beast in this movie. All right, Lucius can fight, and he was ready for him, and he took out a bunch of them. But unfortunately, the Romans do take him out. And he also gives a pretty sick speech there at the beginning. That's like different enough from the one that Maximus gives. Where, I mean, he has a really good line where he says, "Where we are, death is not. Where death is, we are not." Which I really like that line. When you think about it, what he's saying is like, basically, it's like you shouldn't. When we die, you will not. You won't exist. You won't know it. You'll be dead. Just like before you existed, you didn't know it, so you shouldn't fear death. That's what he's saying there. It's a really good line, and also the archers. Ridley Scott's really good with like the massive like archer battles, whatever, arrows flying everywhere. And now I will say, what is it with Ridley Scott and always having the hero or one of the soldiers take his helmet off? Pedro Pascal gets his helmet on, goes down with the shield, and then just takes it off. Like, why? Balian does it multiple times. Doesn't get knocked off. He voluntarily takes it off. It's so unrealistic.
It's really obviously it's for character recognition and their emotion and stuff, but. Just have him not put the helmet on in the first place.
Yeah,
Taking off the helmet during a battle is really contrived.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this moment from Kingdom of Heaven, one of the low points of Kingdom of Heaven, when Balian is rushing towards the breach, and do you remember he just chucks his shield to the side?
Oh,
and it's like, what are you doing? That is your primary, like, not to get down a rabbit hole, but during the Crusades, the primary method of defense was the shield. Armor was getting more advanced and more protective, but still, you rely really heavily on your shield. Because like in later times, like 1400s, the armor was so protective that they ended up abandoning the idea of shields, and the armor did all the work. But that was not that time. And
yeah.
What are you doing? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, to finish up, talk about that opening battle, it is a massive scale battle. Like Ridley said, it's by far the largest thing he's ever done. And I can't imagine how they filmed that. Obviously, I mean, there's probably a lot of CGI involved with the boats and stuff. But, I mean, you have people on fire inside of the boats, getting hit with catapults, guys getting, like, impaled by spears, they're getting shot in to the over the walls. And then I will say, and then obviously it works as a big dramatic moment, too, because his wife gets killed. And I really like that the sound quality of it, like, it's real loud and the music's going, and then as soon as she gets shot, it, like, cuts off. I really like that. That was really well done. And so that makes you feel the emotion of it, and you feel what Lucius is feeling at the time. And now I will say, it does kind of just end there. Like, after that, it's over, and so you don't really get to see the rest of the battle. I mean, it's implied that they've broken through the walls.
Right, I guess they just couldn't lengthen the runtime.
Yeah, so the battle's but it's 10 minutes or whatever of awesomeness to watch. And it opens the movie, and it's just sick.
It is really cool.
And also, but then going further, the action scenes are just, in terms of the scale, is just so cool. You have a rhinoceros battle, and Ridley wanted to have that in the first movie, but they couldn't because of money, so it was like, we're going to do it.
The naval battle?
The naval, yeah.
In the Colosseum. This is a real thing that they actually
Now, I don't know about the sharks. The sharks might have been, that might not be real, but they did fill the Colosseum with water. I don't know how they did it, but they did, and they would have naval battles. And but talk about the rhino battle. That's honestly my personal favorite of the battles, because like I don't know, it has the homage to the first one when he cuts off the guy's head, and also it's where he first sees his mother, and it really works as a dramatic moment in the movie. But I really it's cool when the guy just rides in on a rhino or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, we'll see you," and then the little emperor up there is like, I just really like that little thing. And but then it's a really cool battle because it works. Once again, the Gladiator movies are so good at using the action sequences as like dramatic moments. They're not just for the action. Like in that scene, he refuses Rome the mercy. Like that's a big thing of his character. He hates Rome in his heart because what it's done to him, and so he refuses their mercy, and then he ends up killing the guy. But that battle's just sick. I mean, it's a guy on a rhinoceros like charging at guys, and it kind of like in the first movie with the chariot battle, how he's like, we have to stay together. It kind of repeats that theme. The one guy thinks he can do it on his own, and he gets like absolutely mauled by the rhino.
One of the things I love about Lucius and his fighting style is how he tanks hits really well.
So I was in the rhino battle. So he put the sword down, does his dust, throws the dust up. The rhino charges. He waits till the last one. He has to take the hit in order to get the rhino to actually run into the wall and can go down, which is really cool. I think you're talking about.
He takes hits even just in most of the fights.
Yeah.
He wins his fights not because he's the most skilled, but because he just lasts longer than his
opponents.
opponents.
Yeah, I know. Like when he fights the trainer, like at first he like looks like he's going to get destroyed, but he like wears down his opponent.
He'll just take more hits.
Yeah.
And I think this is really realistic because a lot of action movies have it to where the skilled hero will go through opponents without ever taking a scratch. And obviously, anyone who's been in a real fight knows that even if you beat somebody up, you're going to take some serious hits. And Lucius tanks the hits really well. I will say, this is on the negative side, there's a scene where he's fighting that trainer, and the trainer has these...
The spikes.
Yes, like brass knuckles, except they're spikes. Yeah. Right?
And he gives some to Lucius, but
he doesn't use them.
He doesn't use them.
They're spikes.
He doesn't really give them.
They're iron spikes on the end of his... Yeah. And he hits Lucius in the face, full speed with the iron spikes, like 5 times or something like that.
Yeah, that was a little bit.
And he doesn't get a single scratch on his face. And what on earth is that?
Yeah, that was a little bit. Yeah, that was a plot. That was kind of a.
He's just like a face of iron. Like
what is that was unrealistic. But and then the other action scenes, the naval battle scene is just like. And feel free to comment whenever you want to. I just think that scene was cool. It's just like it's like it feels like did they actually do that? No, they actually did that. And then obviously once again works as a dramatic moment in the movie. He fires the arrow at Acacius. And and then obviously you get the battle between him and Acacius, which from a hand-to-hand standpoint is probably the best in the movie.
Yeah.
And it also is the dramatic high point of the movie as well, by far. It kind of is like the Maximus revealing himself kind of moment. Not as good as that scene, but it is the dramatic high point, I feel like, of the movie, if I had to pick one. And then obviously you get kind of a pretty big battle at the end with the it hints at an even bigger battle that never happens. But there is a pretty big battle in the Colosseum between all the Praetorian guards. Once again with great choreography and a great speech beforehand. I feel like that was their own thing. Like, that didn't really repeat anything from the first. He went for his own speech about, how we have to restore honor to Rome. That was a really cool speech, I think, that Lucius gives. And also, but now one negative of that final battle scene is the fact that, Gracchus is just done dirty in this movie. All right, this guy was one of the best characters in the first one. He's like the senator that stands up to corruption. And then in this one, he comes back and has like one scene where he they're plotting to take over the emperor or to kill the emperors, and then he gets implicated in the plot with Lucilla and Cassius, and he just randomly gets killed by some random dude in the final battle, and it's just like, what the heck? You totally wasted him. Well, you could have just had him die off. In between the movies.
Gracchus deserved a better death.
The
clip in which he gets killed is like 1.2 seconds long.
I know, he deserved a better death, but he also deserved more screen time. Like, he's a good character. So that's a little negative of the final battle scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, the large scale and to the battles is just amazing, and the fight choreography is great. The dramatic moments in the battle scenes are great.
With the extended...
I think they're better. I think the battle scenes and the acting are better in this movie.
I think that the first battle scene from Gladiator is better than everything that happens in Gladiator 2.
The first battle in Gladiator is unparalleled for sure, but as a whole, I feel like this one arguably just has better action.
It has more action.
For sure.
And the scale is increased, and that allows them to do things that were only hinted at in the first movie that you wish you could have seen. Like, I always wish I could have seen Maximus summon his army from Ostia and challenge Roman power. And this is something you actually get to see that happen. Obviously, Maximus isn't doing it, but you actually get to see that happen in this movie. So you get to see all those things that you wish you could see happen in the first movie, but you couldn't because they were limited, right?
Yeah.
And, I won't say that they did this better than the first movie, but what's on the same level, on par, was the music. Mostly because it was just the music from the first movie in a lot of ways.
It used 3 or 4 main themes in the first
Although, what I'll say, the reason that this falls into a positive category for me is because they didn't overuse the themes from the first movie.
Okay.
So, that's a tendency when you're trying to call back nostalgia to the first one, and they resisted that temptation and had a lot of original music.
Yeah. So if you're talking about the music as a positive.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
And they had a lot of original. It didn't blow me away or anything, but it was good. It added to the flavor. It didn't overuse the music of the first one. It used it strategically at moments, and it was like, oh, I remember that. It was just enough. And
what did you think about the use of "Now We Are Free" at the end? I liked it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, honestly, I would have.
The hand was really cool.
Obviously,
who had the most iconic hand in the history of movies is Russell Crowe.
I would love to. I would love for them to have started the music sooner so I could have listened to it longer.
Yeah, it kind of goes into the credits.
Other than that, good use of it.
Yeah, and it's just a great song. Come on.
We've talked about it before. Lisa Gerrard and her spiritual language and everything like that. But I wonder if Lisa Gerrard's still singing and still learning and stuff. But
she's gonna probably. She's probably 50s.
But
yeah. So music's a big positive.
Music is a positive. I won't say they did it better than the first one. I'm trying to think of anything else they did better.
I think another positive of mine while you think about yours, I honestly, this isn't something they did better than the first movie, but the acting is very competent. It's not, obviously the standout is Denzel to me. I know you weren't I know you kind of took a little bit of issue that he is just Denzel, but Denzel's a great actor. And he plays, I'm going to spoil alert, he is the main villain of the movie. By the end of the movie, that's very clear. And actually his plot is actually kind of well thought out. He's a manipulator. That's his plan, is to manipulate everyone and become emperor of Rome and restore, in his mind, restore Rome to its former glory. And he believes the gods have called him to that duty. And at the end, one of my favorite lines, actually, the whole movie, is at the end when Denzel is confronted by Lucius, and he's like, the gods gave me this task And he's like, and Lucius is like, what if the gods sent me to kill you? I don't know what it is about that line. It's just sick to me. But I love that line. But Denzel he steals every scene he's in because he's Denzel Washington. He just has that charisma, like that. I feel like he doesn't even need to be directed. I feel like directors just like, here's your lines, you do what you want with it. We'll go with it. Because he just has so many his mannerisms, man, and they're unlike any other actor. I mean, he has a scene where he's like at the end, towards the end, where he's like, when Lucilla dies, the streets will rise up in terror, and I will deliver them the head of Caracalla. That, my friend, is politics. I mean, it's just like, just his mannerisms are so crazy, but they just somehow work for me. And I love the writing of his character, of how you don't know and this goes on the talks about storytelling a little bit. You don't know he's the villain until probably 2/3 of the way through. Like, you think he's going to be kind of the morally ambiguous guy that obviously isn't good or bad, but you think he's going to be like good in the end. That's what I was thinking. But then no, he is the bad guy. He's not a good guy. And he obviously wants revenge against Lucilla for the wrongs that Marcus Aurelius did to him, and because he was his slave. And so I really liked his character, and Denzel just stole every performance he's in. There's just so many little mannerisms that he has and little lines that he has here and there that just kind of make you chuckle. Like, he has a line where he's like, rage flows out of you like milk from a horse tit. It's just like, I don't know who wrote that line.
Well, it's like that.
So he made it work. Like, that's not a great line, but he made it work.
I feel like that was a parallel to the moment when the trainer from the first movie was like, it rises like a storm.
Yes, it was. And then I also just, every scene he's in, he kind of steals the show. I mean, he just like walks in and he's like, Meatless is like, what an honor. I don't know, it's like, he's the American black man in Rome.
So
I know for you it's a little bit, it kind of drew you out of it a little bit.
Yeah, let me share my perspective on it. Because
I love Denzel.
I understand them getting Denzel on because that's a huge crowd appeal, and they're going to get a lot of butts and seats to see Denzel Washington in this movie, and so that's understandable. But objectively, for the artistic value of the movie, I don't think it was a good decision because he continually drew me out of the movie.
Yeah,
one of the problems was that they didn't make him do any accent, and so everyone else sounds Roman, and he just sounds like he's this American guy walking around in there, and it was a little bit distracting because we talked about this a little bit about the first one. They decided on the Roman accent being British, and our theory on that is because they wanted to bring thoughts of imperialism to mind.
Yeah,
but Denzel just doesn't participate in this for some reason, and he feels like he just came off the streets of Chicago or something, and it's.
But the performance, I think he's a really good performance, as a villain. And I really like the scenes where he's talking to Lucius. They have a really interesting relationship.
I think his character is very well written.
Yeah, they have a very interesting relationship because he views Lucius as his instrument. But Lucius refuses to be that instrument. I really like that theme throughout the movie of how at first Lucius is he's like, yeah, sure, I'll fight for you, and you deliver me his head. Marcus Acacius his head, and but he obviously refuses when he has the chance because of his character development. He's developed as a character, and he's realized that Marcus Acacius is a good man. And so yeah, I just really like the kind of the playback between Macrinus and Lucius. But I thought that other actors did a good job too. I think that the actress Connie Nielsen, who plays Lucilla, not as good as she is in the first movie, but she's serviceable. She brings a lot of emotion to the role, and she obviously has she has to bring a lot of emotions because she's the character who's had to send away her son because he would have been killed, and then she has to deal with the guilt over that. And I thought she brought out the emotions fine. I mean, it's not like a knock out of the park performance. I think my favorite performance in this movie, with the first one, is by the leading character, Paul Mescal. He's no Russell Crowe, all right? He's not going to win Best Actor, but he does a pretty good job of playing a character that has a lot of pent up emotion, and he doesn't always let it out. He's kind of a quiet character. He's probably even and so was Maximus in the first one, especially after he goes into slavery. But I really like the dynamic between Lucius and, as I said, Denzel Washington's character, but also just how I like the character development of Lucius and how his emotions are like brought out over the course of the movie. Like at first he's just very quiet and he's just this guy who's dealing, and then his wife gets killed, he has this rage, and then his character develops to be where he lets out that emotion over the movie and realizes his true purpose. I thought he did a great job. Paul Mescal did. And then obviously Pedro Pascal did a fine job. He's not like super great. I think his character, you pointed this out last night, I think his character is better than his acting actually. I love, and I'll talk about the storytelling as a separate positive. But yeah, Pedro Pascal's fine, and then who's the other? The twin emperors were fine. They were crazy enough. I didn't think there was anything. They were supposed to be these crazy kind of just maniacal psychopaths. And they did a good job of playing those roles. I think that the characters could have had, and I'll talk about this in the negative, they could have been fleshed out more. You don't really know who they are. You don't really have, like with Commodus in the first one, you have a little bit of motivation. You don't really know where did they come from, what's their motivation, why are they psychopaths. But that's a negative. But the acting is fine. I didn't have any problem with their acting. They're just crazy, which is what they needed to be. So yeah, I think the acting was overall really good. Not as good as the first one. The first one's one of the most well-acted movies of all time.
Yeah.
So, but the movie's acting is very, very good.
Yeah, I'll offer my alternate position on the acting in the negative section.
Okay.
But I think, do you have any more positives before we transition?
Oh yeah, so I had one more. Do you have any more besides the music and the action sequences?
Yeah, music, action sequences, scale.
Yeah, the
production design. I have one more, but
you said you liked the writing of certain things, right?
Yeah, I'm going to use it as a bridge over to the negative section.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other positive is like the first one. The storytelling is pretty good. Now, a negative, kind of a mixed aspect or a negative is going to be they did repeat some stuff in the first one, but I think it does tell a pretty compelling story of a guy who loses everything he has. He had already lost everything he had, then he loses it all again, and he has to kind of find his way back after that. And that's just where I like those stories. I like stories like that. And I really enjoy how they have, once again, characters that are minor characters that play big roles in the movie. In the first one, it was Juba. Juba was one of those characters, the friend of Maximus, the Numidian. Their friendship was so pivotal to that movie. In this movie, there's a character named Ravi, who's the doctor, and he's my personal favorite character in the movie, I think. And he really helps with the character development of Lucius. And he tells him about Maximus, and he tells him about, he offers this ulterior kind of perspective to the gladiatorial, or the arena of how, like, he was a gladiator, and he got freed, and he could have done anything, but instead he laid down his sword to treat other people and help other people. So he offers this perspective, whereas almost everybody in this movie, especially the villains, are all about power and everything. And restoring, and even the good guys are about like restoring the good. They're about restoring Rome. It's all about politics and stuff. This guy just wants to help people. He's just a doctor who's just doing his job. So and that actor, I don't know his name. He did a really great job. I loved Robbie. So I think the storytelling is not as good as the first one, but it does tell a compelling story. It has good side characters that build character. And add to the plot, and it has the big emotional moments, not as potent as the ones in the first movie. And one I haven't even mentioned is when Ravi goes and delivers the ring to the general at Ostia, and he's like, "This is from Lucius, the Prince of Rome, Lucius Verus Aurelius, the Prince of Rome." That is a really big emotional high point, and there's a handful of them. So I think the storytelling was pretty good, and the screenplay was good enough. It wasn't like anything knocked out of the park. I just think that David Scarpa isn't a great screenwriter. I think he's a good screenwriter. He's better than either of us could be. I mean, I couldn't have written anything as good.
So fair.
All right, Napoleon's not good. I couldn't have written anything as good as Napoleon. Right? He's obviously a skilled screenwriter. He's not like a Christopher Nolan or anything, but he does. I think the dialogue in the movie is pretty good overall, especially the dialogue that's given to Denzel. I think his dialogue is just so punchy and really charismatic that it's just really fun to watch. And I also like the dialogue between I love the dialogue between Lucius and Ravi. I love their conversations. It really the dialogue between them brings out a lot in their characters. So I really like the storytelling and the screenwriting for the most part. So yeah, if you wanted to talk about
and so I've got a split view on the plot, and so I think it's a good way to like bridge.
I do too. I'll have negatives on the plot as well.
Yeah. So here's my split thoughts on the plot to transition us to the negative section. So they had a difficult task when they came to make the second movie.
Yeah.
The big question is, how much of the first one are we going to revisit? How much are we going to make this different? And here's the solution they came up with, which, to be fair, is not a terrible solution. It's actually quite clever. They thought, we're going to make the first half of this movie really similar to the first movie, right? Basically the same, but we're gonna speed it up because we know that everybody's seen this already.
The pacing is a lot faster.
It is. So we're gonna get through the first half of material, and then in the second half of the movie, we're going to use this base to branch into different directions and do things that are unexpected.
Yeah,
that's not a terrible approach to doing this movie because you're trying to balance making it enough like the first one to where people who are fans of the first one, like to see those callbacks, and also making it its own film.
There's a lot of callbacks, by the way.
Kind of clever, but the drawback of this approach is that the first half of the movie just isn't as good as the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
The first half of the movie is just literally Gladiator 1. And that's it. There's like no differences. Almost at all.
Where do you think it turns?
When they start doing different things with Denzel's character,
I think in my mind, I'll give my where I think it turns. I think the turning point of the movie is when the plot is discovered, and then it does its own thing.
Yeah, because it's doing all of the same beats of the first movie, and I was starting to get a little bit bored in the theater because I was like, I've seen all of this, I know how this ends. Are we really gonna go over all of this again? And then it starts doing different stuff. And it starts subverting your expectations and doing creative new things with characters. And I sat up in my seat and I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Yeah. And the rest of the movie turns out to be really interesting.
Yeah.
So it's split. The first half of the movie is not as good. The second half of the movie, thumbs up. Like the second half of the movie.
It was good enough for you to give it a really good recommend it to you. So like the second half was
the second half was really good because they kept me so interested. I was so invested in what was going, and I couldn't predict what was going to happen.
And that's good story. I like how with the storytelling, they really they offer a plethora of characters that appear to be the villain. Going into this movie, and I'm interested to see what you thought when you watched it. Since you saw it for the first time, I've seen this 4 times already. This is my 4th time seeing it. And he offers this plethora of characters that appear to be the villain. I thought that Acacius was going to be the main villain.
Yes.
So it does a really good job of, because that's really effective by making him look like he's going to be the villain. Because then it makes you think, oh, Lucilla's bad now. Like when you figure out that they're married, it's like, shoot, she's like, what happened to her? And then you realize, no, like he has no choice in fighting these wars, and he wants to. That was
really interesting.
Yeah,
what they did with the Acacius character.
Yeah, Acacius.
Yeah,
well, he's the Roman general.
The Acacius character was really interesting, and the subversion of expectations there, very interesting.
I was shocked when he wasn't the main villain, and I was shocked when obviously Denzel ends up being the main villain. So you don't know who the villain's going to be until 2/3 of the way through, and that's really good storytelling because you don't. It subverts your expectations. You're like, oh, he's the villain. Oh no, the Emperor's just going to be the villain then. Oh no, it's Denzel.
So those are some high points of the plot. But let's reach over and talk about some of the issues with the plot.
Okay.
Because there are some. One issue with the plot is how quickly Lucius forgives his mom, with seemingly no change in their relationship.
I would agree.
He goes from completely hating her to forgiving her for seemingly no reason. And the only thing that I can put my finger on is the death of Acacius. But even then, his attitude towards the death of Acacius is kind of nonsensical. why is it that he forgives him so quickly? It never fleshes that out.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens is he says, do what you must do, but know that I love your mother and your father, Maximus.
And like, for him.
Sure, but like, you really think that it's going to change like years of hatred? Him saying that one sentence? Here's how I would have done that scene, because I was watching the scene and I was hoping it would go this way, but it didn't. What I was hoping is that he was going to plan to kill Acacius, but then the Roman emperors were going to want him to kill Acacius, and then he wouldn't kill Acacius, not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't want to do what the emperors told him to do, because he hates Rome that much.
That would have been cool.
That would have been a cool moment.
Because he did that earlier.
Mm-hmm. And I think that would have...
Well, it was the opposite. He refused the mercy.
That would have... And then that could have justified the quick change that they needed. Mm-hmm. But as it stands, didn't make a ton of sense. Mm-hmm. Another thing, you mentioned this. Lucius's backstory is like explained kind of, but also not really.
It's not fleshed out enough.
It's like he's sent away, and it's not, maybe I'm just stupid, but it's not clear to me in what sense his mother betrayed him. She sent him away for his protection.
And she's never...
The village got raided, and then somehow he ended up in Numidia. None of that is explained, and then he hates her for some reason. It's like...
I mean, I can understand why he doesn't like her, but because obviously she sent him away and never brought him back.
Right, but he uses the word betrayal.
Betrayal, yeah. I don't get the betrayal. I mean, I guess maybe he just feels like... I mean, I can kind of get around that, but I definitely think they could have fleshed out his just backstory in general. Mm-hmm. I can understand why he doesn't like her, but I would
but he has like this visceral hatred.
Yeah.
He like screams at her.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a plot issue, kind of.
So yeah.
Another thing I was wondering during the whole movie is I was like, man, and during the second half specifically, I was like, man, this is building really well, but how are they gonna stick the landing? Because Rome doesn't become a republic again.
No.
So how are you gonna stick this landing? In the first movie, they did it by punting, and guess what? In the second movie, they did it by punting. They punted to the third movie, and so it just ends without sticking the landing because Lucius prevails, and my big question is, how are you going to make this make sense historically? And they just don't bother. They just end the movie.
And punt it to the third.
They just punt it to the third one. And so I can't comment on that a ton until I see the third one and see how they stick the landing. Mm-hmm. But as a standalone film, not great because it's like, I don't get any emotional resolution, really.
I feel like there was a little bit of emotional resolution in the fact that he has now fulfilled his arc. Like, he has
as a character.
He has become the Prince of Rome. Mm-hmm. He has embodied what he was meant to be. And from all the way from the depths of, like, destruction. Yeah. He has made it back to be the Prince of Rome. Yeah. And at first I was like, would they really be listening to him? But no, like, he's the long-lost son. And they know that by that point. Everybody knows this is Lucius. He kind of like once Maximus reveals himself, everybody's like, oh shoot, that's the general. Yeah. And this one, everybody knows that that's Lucius. Yeah. So it makes sense why they're going to listen to him. Like, he's their long-lost emperor, basically.
Yeah. Yep. But the fate of Rome is left undecided.
Yeah, which there is going to be a third movie.
Yep.
So that's not necessarily a negative for me.
You have to see how they handle it.
I get what you're saying, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one plot hole that I found, there's a couple that you mentioned. I agree with all the ones you've mentioned. Should have been more backstory to Lucius. In the first one, technically, there's not a lot of backstory to Maximus besides him just talking about his family, but that was just somehow enough.
It was all you needed.
It was just all you needed with him. Lucius, since he is a character in the first movie, there just needed to be a little bit more of how he got to where he was at the beginning of the movie. But it wasn't like, it's not like a massive negative. But my bigger problem with the movie is the fact that it does not discuss the impacts of the first film enough. Like, a lot of crap went down. Like, Commodus got killed, Maximus died, and I just before I go into the negative, I do like how they did kind of honor the character of Maximus. It's very subtle. It's not like over the top. But they just mention him from time to time, like he is this kind of character who, it's kind of realistic. Like, he would not be like, he killed the emperor, so he's not really revered necessarily. He's like revered in the under circles, kind of like the circles of society. He's not like this hero of everybody because he killed the emperor, which is ultimately. A lot of people probably didn't like that, just because I know they didn't like Commodus, but still, like, he's kind of like revered and kind of like by the gladiators and stuff. And I really like that, how he's not like, there's not like statues of him and stuff. I really like how they called back to his character. The flashback scenes to him when I watched it the first time gave me kind of chills, like seeing him do the dirt, and then this is Scotto and this is Argento. That was really cool. I really like how they have Lucius wear his armor and how they preserved it. And once again, the character of Ravi is just so good when he takes him down to the tomb and is showing him. Ravi gives a lot of the callbacks. He says, what we do in life echoes in eternity, but I cannot take credit. It's written on the tombs. But to get into the negative, it does not discuss the impact of Maximus's actions at the end of the first movie. Nope. So what happened after Commodus died is like that led to the twin emperors becoming emperors. It just says it really explains this all the way. The best it does is in the text at the beginning. It just says 16 years after the death of Marcus Aurelius, his dream of Rome has been forgotten. Yeah, the twin emperors have come and they are terrible and they suck and the city's about to be destroyed. That's all it says. And then it's like, and that's not enough. Like, no, where did the twin emperors come from? How did they get there? In the first movie, you understand Commodus. If you understand where he comes from and why he has a motivation, and he's just such a great villain. Their villain, the emperors are crazy and they're psychopaths, and the acting is good. But I think that they needed to be fleshed out. Like, who are they? You don't really know who they are, and so you can't really get fully invested in their characters like you could with Commodus. Why don't they have red hair too? Yeah, I don't know, but they're kind of play back and forth is really kind of interesting because they are both crazy, but then one of them is actually sick. So like, it's an interesting relationship between the two. I think it is effective, but not enough backstory. But also just like, how did the Romans respond to Commodus being killed? And it's not explained at all. Like somehow I guess it's obviously implied that Lucius was going to be hunted by a bunch of people that wanted the throne, and so Lucilla sends him away. But then how did they get from that point to the emperors? Like, I guess somebody seized the throne, and then
it's never explained.
It's never explained. I just think that's a big problem, though.
It's like a Star Wars moment where it's like somehow Palpatine returned. It's like a somehow Palpatine returned.
There's not enough continuity, honestly, from the end of the first movie to the beginning of the second. Now, a little positive though, the opening credit sequence of this movie is sick. Of how it's like a graphic art version of the ending of the first movie, or kind of a series of events from the first movie, and it is really cool. But then it has that opening text, and it's like, shoot, that's all we're gonna. By the end of the movie, that's all we're gonna get. It's really about the backstory.
One of the funny things about this movie is that they give the time space between the events of the first and second one as being 16 years, when in real life it's almost been 25 years. And so it's one of those few movies where like the time span in real life was actually longer than the one in the plot. That's just an interesting thing to think about. Sure.
But that's a big problem for me. Yeah. And then also another problem with the storytelling. Although I did like the storytelling for the most part, I think that, and that's not really the storytelling thing. That's more just like basic screenwriting, just like exposition. Like there could have just been some more like a scene where the Lucilla or Acacius are talking about what happened,
or even just an extra screen of text.
Yeah, just like what happened. All it says is the emperors came to power. Yeah. It doesn't say anything else. But the other big problem, I think, with the movie, in terms of the plot hole, is it doesn't really make it clear. Like, Macrinus's plan makes sense, but there's a big hole to it. Once he helps he manipulates Caracalla into killing Gaeta. So once Gaeta's dead, he brings Caracalla becomes emperor. I don't understand. It's never really explained. Did the Senate know? Like, obviously they know after he brings in the head. Yeah. Before that, did they know Caracalla had killed Gaeta? And also, once he brings in, then Denzel after he gets named one of the consuls, along with the monkey, just kind of a funny moment in the movie. That was good. And it kind of, Human alluded to a real moment in history.
We can talk about that in
the history section. They were kind of alluding to something, I think. We think. But yeah, you don't know whether the Senate knew. But obviously, Denzel or Macronus brings in the head, and his plan is obviously to have Caracalla kill Lucilla in the arena, and she's a hero of Rome, so that's gonna incite the people, and then he's gonna deliver the head of Caracalla to them, and then he's gonna have the power of the Praetorian Guard. He'll have all that power because he says, if I'm gonna be able to do this, I have to have power. And so I guess his plan is that he'll be like, hey, he killed Caracalla.
Yeah.
And they'll give him his head. He'll give them Caracalla's head, and that'll like appease them. And that part makes sense because they would have hated Caracalla, and then he would also, I guess he would still have killed Caracalla, as he does in the end of the movie. I feel like he would have still done that. He kind of has to do it prematurely because his plan doesn't work out. But what's really the plot hole is really, did the Senate know that he helped Caracalla kill Gaeta? It's not really revealed. And that's a little bit of a plot hole there. Some other small plot holes are, like his plan is a little bit convoluted. It makes sense to a large enough degree where it's not like, it doesn't take you out of the movie. I think the most convoluted plot ever in a movie was actually in Captain America: Civil War. That I'm talking. Have you seen that? If you remember, that guy had a convoluted plot. The Russian dude or whatever. It's not as convoluted as that guy's plot, but it's pretty convoluted. A little bit confusing and some plot holes in there. The other one, there's just little things though. How did Lucilla, her first meeting with Lucius, how did that happen? How did she get into she's not like the daughter of the emperor anymore. How did she get into the cell?
And like the only reason she knew it was him was because he recited that piece of poetry.
I did like that scene. I don't know. I loved that scene where he recites Virgil, and that's
from the Aeneid. It's actually one of my favorite passages from the Aeneid.
Yeah.
During my first semester in West Civ 1, we had to take a commonplace book, and I commonplaced that passage.
Yeah.
And so
but I don't know. I really enjoyed that scene because that kind of reveals his Roman heritage, and that kind of picks up the momentum of the movie because she starts investigating and realizes, oh shoot, that's my son. I really like that plot device and how it used. I just also love that passage. It's really a good passage.
Oh, it is.
The gates of hell are open, night and day. Easy is the path, and easy is the descent, and easy is the way, or something.
Would come back.
Yeah, it's a really good passage, and it works. It works on an emotional level. But I really think it's like Gracchus is there when she gets to his cell, and he's like, "Hey, how did he have any connections to that?" I guess it's like somehow they had a connection to be able to get her to talk to him in the cell. But then there's even a bigger plot hole: is she being held in the same cell as him at the end? Because they're able to have that meeting at the end where they reconcile. I guess they were just in the same. She was being held in the Gladiator barracks, or maybe it was like Denzel says, "Whatever you want in these last hours, we'll grant you."
Yeah, that would make sense.
So it was like she wanted to meet with him.
Yeah,
I guess that explains it a little bit, but still, just a few little things here and there that just don't make sense. But the biggest plot hole, or whatever you want to call it, is the lack of focus on the impacts of the events of the first movie.
So we got some plot issues. I'd like to offer my alternate perspective on the acting as a negative. Sure, yeah. I think, let me soften this a little bit before I go into it by saying that, as you pointed out, they're coming into an impossible task trying to follow up the acting of the first movie, which is some of the best acting ever committed to film, especially by Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe's performance is just like lightning struck, man. It was magical. It's not something that you can reproduce just even through talent. It's sort of a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. And so, of course, they're not going to live up to it. And I felt like they were self-conscious of this. And that lets me give them a little bit more grace, right? Because they don't disrespect the memory of the first one. Obviously, they can't bring back Russell Crowe because, one, he's very dead. And two, I mean, like in the movie. And two, in real life, he's like overweight, I think. And so he does not.
That sounds like long hair.
He does not look like Maximus anymore. So they couldn't even shoot any like beyond the grave scenes or something like that.
That's what they're talking about doing. And a lot of people think that's at the end. Obviously, it's hinted and it shows his hand. It's like he's obviously in Elysium, And it's a lot of people think that in the third movie he will have some form of communication.
Yeah.
Because Lucia says, "Speak to me, Father."
Yeah.
At the end.
And so that could be cool. But back to the acting, there are some parts of it that just aren't very good, though. I don't think Lucilla does a very good job.
Okay.
She was super convincing in the first one, and she just, I can't quite put my finger on it, but she just didn't convince me in this one. Her emotions all seemed really forced for some reason, and I was always really distracted by all the Botox in her face. Her face looked...
or Botox?
It was, because, like, it's been 25 years. Like, that was definitely Botox.
The de-aging was pretty good, though. In that
it was.
Scene.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
But, like, it's because her cheeks were all puffed up, and so her eyes looked small, and it was really distracting. And so, was not convinced by her performance, like you mentioned. Much better in the first one.
Yeah, I'd say she was just satisfactory. I do get the emotions a little bit pent up sometimes, over the top. The one scene especially is when the flashback scene, when she sends off Lucius. That was too mushy.
Yeah.
She's like, "I love you." That was a little bit too much.
And then, I already voiced my thoughts on Denzel. It's not that he's a bad actor, it's just like, he didn't make an effort to be immersed in the time period, and so I had a problem with that. And then Pedro Pascal, who I've always...
He's also always fooling around with his clothes.
Yeah, I don't know.
He has like all these like around his arm.
I don't know what
he's always like
that is.
Like he's always doing that.
He even fights the final battle scene
with his like robes on and stuff,
which definitely hurts him because like it's not good to
that
fight.
That final battle though was good. Mm-hmm. Like I know you liked how they actually armor actually works.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That's good.
Although, go ahead. What you
but Pedro Pascal, I like his character, especially how they wrote his character. Yeah. Super interesting. But I've always thought that Pedro Pascal is an overrated actor. Mm-hmm. Like he got his start being the Mandalorian, which was like the easiest role of all time. He never had to look at his face. His stunt doubles did all of the hard stuff for him, and he got to voice over the lines. And like all he had to do was just like walk, and somehow
he talks.
I know, but he voices it over. He doesn't even do it while he's acting.
Oh, he doesn't.
Yeah, so all he has to do is just like, stand there and look pretty, and somehow he even manages to walk weird as the Mandalorian. So, and then he did the other thing I've seen him in is The Last of Us,
which is a movie, the adaptation of the video game,
which is like okay, and then his performance in this movie is super flat. The thing is that
more to this character.
A lot of the characters are trying to be like Maximus, and Maximus is really low key, and so they're trying to be really low key. But the problem is that Russell Crowe has a talent for infusing a ton of meaning into just really small things.
Yeah.
So Russell Crowe,
like on his face, like you can just see the.
Russell Crowe can play it low key while communicating so much. And so when other actors try to play it low key, they just don't tell you anything. Mm-hmm. They don't give you anything. And so Pedro Pascal doesn't give you anything. His character's super interesting, but his performance is really flat.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think you're talking about Russell Crowe in the first one. There's just scenes, I get what you're meaning, where he's just like, just his eye movements and how he looks at people. Mm-hmm. It's just like
he says so much. Yeah.
I don't think Pedro Pascal should be expected to be just like Paul Mescal. Shouldn't be expected to have matched up to anything that Russell Crowe did. But I do agree the character was actually written better than the performance.
Yes.
And they could have had more to his character. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to maybe heard some backstory about him. Like, where did he come from?
Again, I liked his character.
Yeah.
Paul Mescal, again, impossible thing, so you can't expect him to. But same thing like with Pascal, he can't communicate as much with his small gestures.
Yeah.
And so he just, instead of being quiet but with a ton under the surface, he's just quiet for a lot of the movie. I like his performance better than Pedro Pascal's. I think it was really brave of him to try to step up and take that role. It was good.
This is kind of a star-making performance for him. He's kind of a young Irish actor who has been in some stuff. He's gotten a nomination for Best Actor before. But, this is definitely his first big budget action movie. He got ripped for the movie.
Yeah, he was pretty... I don't know how much of his fight scenes he did. If he did some of the fight scenes, that would be really cool.
He did a lot of them.
Okay.
Like Russell Crowe also did a bunch. I mean, obviously they had stunt doubles.
So, Yeah, and that's what I'll say. I'm trying to think if there's any other actors.
Sorry. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking we were talking about action scenes. The only action scene in the movie, I was thinking of the negative. The monkey battle was a bit odd. Those looked too fake.
Well, yeah, that's
Those
the thing. The use of CGI was too much. The animal scenes in the first movie worked so well because they were real
the
animals.
Tigers and stuff.
The tigers were so cool because they were real.
Were they?
They were, yeah.
I haven't watched behind the scenes.
Yeah, the tigers were real. And the baboons were super fake. The rhino was pretty fake.
But the rhino battle was still cool, though. I thought.
But just the fake... I guess you can't bring in a real rhino.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the sharks were super fake.
Yeah. That was just very historically inaccurate. There's no way they were getting sharks in the Coliseum.
And then, like, a lot of that was pretty fake looking.
Yeah.
All of the CGI. Anytime they did a real set... It looked amazing. Anytime they used CGI, it looked okay.
I really liked but yeah, that was my least favorite action sequence. Honestly, it works more as a character building moment of how determined Mescal is to survive, more than it is a cool action sequence. And there's some funny moments where they're like, ooh, they're making fun of him because he actually bites the monkey. But that's more of a character building moment than it is an actual cool action scene.
What I did think was cool about the monkey fight was like he didn't carve a path and kill every single monkey. He had to fight like that one monkey.
That was cool.
That was cool.
Now, here's an interesting performance. I wanted to get your analysis on since we're talking about acting. The guy who played the Numidian chief.
He wasn't there for very long.
He wasn't there for very long,
That's
but
cool.
I really enjoyed just his character.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
I don't know why. That scene of he's actually the guy in 300 who gets kicked into the well. If you notice.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really love that scene between him and Max and Lucius. And that's once again, the Gladiator movies, both of them are really good at having these little scenes that build character development.